They lit up the silver screen, but behind the glamour was pure chaos. Affairs, addictions, scandals, and secrets Hollywood tried to bury. These are the 16 old Hollywood actresses who were completely out of control. You won't believe how wild things really got. Elizabeth Taylor wasn't just a Hollywood icon, she was a walking headline. Known for her breathtaking beauty and magnetic screen presence, Taylor also led a personal life that kept tabloids in overdrive. She was married 8 times to 7 different men, including 2 famously stormy unions with Richard Burton. Her affair with Eddie Fisher, who was then married to America's sweetheart Debbie Reynolds, sparked one of Hollywood's biggest scandals, earning her the label of a homewrecker. But Taylor never apologized for living life on her terms. Whether it was her whirlwind romances, lavish lifestyle, or bold defiance of public opinion, Elizabeth Taylor was the definition of uncontrollable, and unapologetically so. Joan Crawford was one of Hollywood's most commanding screen presences, but her off-screen life was far darker and more controversial. Known for her fierce ambition and volatile temperament, Crawford was rumored to have appeared in an adult film before her rise to fame, a secret the studios worked hard to bury. But her most infamous legacy came decades later, with the publication of Mommy Dearest by her adopted daughter, Christina. The book painted Crawford as a cruel, abusive mother, obsessed with control, appearances, and discipline. While some questioned the book's accuracy, the damage to Crawford's image was irreversible. Behind the glamour and Oscars was a woman driven by perfection, and haunted by personal demons she couldn't hide forever. Marilyn Monroe was the ultimate sex symbol of the 1950s, beautiful, charming, and endlessly captivating. But behind the dazzling smile was a deeply troubled woman navigating fame, love, and loneliness. Her marriages to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller were marked by turbulence and emotional pain. Off-screen, her rumored affairs with powerful figures, including President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, only fueled her legend. Monroe struggled with depression, anxiety, and a growing dependence on pills to sleep, cope, and perform. Her behavior on set became unpredictable, leading to frequent delays and tensions with directors. Despite the chaos, she remained a cultural icon. But in 1962, at just 36 years old, Marilyn died of a drug overdose, a tragic end to a life defined by both fantasy and fragility. To this day, her story remains one of Hollywood's most haunting cautionary tales. Marina Dietrich was more than just a screen siren, she was a rule-breaker, a rebel, and one of the most controversial figures of old Hollywood. Known for her sultry voice, sharp wit, and androgynous beauty, Dietrich openly defied the strict moral codes of her time. She embraced her bisexuality in an era when such openness was considered scandalous, engaging in high-profile affairs with both men and women, including rumored romances with Greta Garbo and Edith Piaf. Dietrich was also known for her love of parties, alcohol, and late-night indulgences that shocked even Hollywood's elite. She often wore men's clothing in public, challenging gender norms and defying the studio image machine. Though studios tried to tame her, Marlene lived by her own rules. Her boldness came at a price, but it also cemented her legacy as a fearless icon who refused to apologize for who she was. Tallulah Bankhead was one of the most outrageous and unapologetic figures of old Hollywood, a whirlwind of charisma, chaos, and controversy. Known for her booming voice, razor-sharp wit, and magnetic presence, she was just as famous for her off-screen exploits as her acting. Bankhead was openly bisexual in a time when such openness was unheard of, engaging in affairs with both men and women, including rumors involving stars like Greta Garbo and Billie Holiday. She was addicted to alcohol, cocaine, and wild partying, often showing up to sets hungover or not at all. Her infamous quote, "I only read scripts to see if I get to fuck Gary Cooper," perfectly summed up her rebellious attitude. Though her career suffered because of her behavior, she remained fiercely proud and unfiltered. Tallulah Bankhead didn't just break Hollywood's rules, she laughed at them. She was chaos incarnate, and she loved every second of it. Clara Bao was the face of the Roaring Twenties, a dazzling beauty who embodied youthful energy, sexual freedom, and rebellion. As Hollywood's first true it girl, Bao skyrocketed to fame with her magnetic screen presence and unapologetic confidence. But behind the glamour was a life riddled with chaos. Born into poverty and abuse, Clara carried deep emotional scars that fame only worsened. Her off-screen life was the stuff of legend: wild parties, heavy drinking, and scandalous rumors, including alleged orgies with USC football players that shocked the public and infuriated studios. Tabloids painted her as Hollywood's wildest woman, while studio executives grew wary of her behavior. Hounded by press, betrayed by close associates, and suffering from undiagnosed mental health struggles, Clara eventually had a nervous breakdown. She retired from acting in her early 30s, a star dimmed too soon. Clara Bao didn't just break the mold, she shattered it. Barbara Payton was one of Hollywood's most tragic figures, a glamorous femme fatale whose career burned bright and then fizzled out in a storm of scandal and self-destruction. Rising to fame in the late 1940s and early 1950s, Payton captivated audiences with her stunning looks and sultry roles. But behind the scenes, her life was marked by addiction, tumultuous relationships, and public drama. She was involved in notorious love triangles with famous actors like Frank Tone and Tom Neal, which ended in a violent confrontation widely covered by the media. As her career faltered, Payton's struggles deepened. She reportedly turned to prostitution to support her drug habit. Despite her early promise, her rapid downward spiral made her a cautionary tale of Hollywood's dark side. Barbara Payton's story is a haunting reminder of how fame can both create and destroy. Lupe Veles, famously known as the Mexican Spitfire, was a whirlwind of passion, talent, and scandal in old Hollywood. Born in Mexico, she quickly rose to fame in the 1920s and 30s with her fiery screen presence and unforgettable comedic timing. But off-screen, Veles's life was just as dramatic as her roles. Known for her tempestuous relationships, she was involved in multiple volatile marriages and affairs. One of the most notorious incidents involved a dramatic pistol shooting episode reportedly aimed at the legendary Gary Cooper during a jealous rage. She was also rumored to have been involved in physical fights, including knife altercations, showcasing the fiery temperament that made her both fascinating and feared. Despite her personal chaos, Veles was adored by fans for her magnetic charm and vibrant personality. Tragically, her life was cut short at just 36, when she died under mysterious circumstances, which many believe were linked to her emotional turmoil. Lupe Veles remains a symbol of Hollywood's wild, untamed spirit. Diana Dors was Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe, a blonde bombshell with curves, charisma, and a craving for attention. But behind the glamorous facade was a life filled with scandal, excess, and controversy. Dors began acting in British films as a teenager and quickly became a sensation for her bold sexuality and provocative image. When she made her way to Hollywood, she brought her larger-than-life persona with her, and it didn't take long for tabloids to take notice. Known for hosting wild, X-rated house parties where celebrities, alcohol, and hidden cameras were all part of the fun, Dors became a magnet for gossip and scandal. Her relationships were just as chaotic, including affairs with high-profile men and a troubled marriage to actor Richard Dawson. Despite the media frenzy, Diana embraced her notoriety, often playing into it rather than denying it. Though her career had ups and downs, she never faded from the public eye. Diana Dors lived fast, partied hard, and made sure the world never forgot her name. Vivien Lee was the epitome of elegance and talent, best known for her unforgettable roles in Gone with the Wind and A Streetcar Named Desire. But behind her mesmerizing beauty and award-winning performances was a life marked by emotional turmoil and personal struggle. Lee suffered from bipolar disorder, a condition not widely understood or treated at the time. Her extreme mood swings, fits of depression, and bouts of mania made her personal and professional life deeply challenging. Her marriage to legendary actor Laurence Olivier was both passionate and painful, filled with intense love but also jealousy, infidelity, and public fights. Though the couple were considered the golden pair of British theatre, their relationship was anything but stable. Lee's behavior on set was often unpredictable, leading to strained relationships with directors and co-stars. Despite her internal battles, she remained a brilliant actress, masking her suffering behind the camera. Her later years were marred by health issues and increasing mental decline. Vivien Lee's life was a haunting contrast, radiant on screen, but painfully fragile off it. Ingrid Bergman was the picture of grace, talent, and wholesome beauty, the beloved star of classics like Casablanca and Gaslight. But in 1950, she shocked the world with a scandal that shattered her carefully crafted image. At the height of her Hollywood career, Bergman fell in love with Italian director Roberto Rossellini while filming in Europe. The affair made headlines around the world, not just because she was married, but because she became pregnant by Rossellini while still wed to her husband. The backlash was swift and severe. Once adored by American audiences, Bergman was suddenly denounced by the press, condemned by religious groups, and even publicly rebuked on the floor of the U.S. Senate. She became a Hollywood exile, leaving the U.S. for years as the scandal raged on. Despite the fallout, Bergman remained unapologetic and continued to work in European cinema. Eventually, she returned to Hollywood and reclaimed her place as one of the greats, even winning a second Oscar. But her defiance of 1950s morality shocked a nation and proved she would not be controlled by anyone, not even Hollywood. Lana Turner was the ultimate Hollywood glamour queen, stunning, stylish, and adored by millions. Discovered at just 16 in a soda shop, she rose to fame almost overnight, starring in hit films like The Postman Always Rings Twice. But while her career sparkled, her personal life was a storm of heartbreak, scandal, and tragedy. Turner's love life was famously turbulent, with 8 marriages and numerous high-profile affairs. But the most shocking moment of her life came in 1958, when her teenage daughter, Cheryl Crane, fatally stabbed Lana's boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, a violent gangster with known mob ties. Turner had been in an abusive relationship with Stompanato, and the killing was ruled justifiable homicide, but the trial became a national sensation. The courtroom drama, tabloids, and media frenzy painted Turner as both victim and villain. While her career survived the scandal, her public image was forever changed. Lana Turner's life was like a film noir, full of beauty, danger, and dramatic twists. Her story remains one of Hollywood's darkest and most unforgettable real-life tragedies.